welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are talking about Ouija boards. This video was so highly requested, so I was really excited to get on this on the time that I did. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th, and I felt like this would be the perfect time to get on here and talk about this topic in general. So for those of you guys who are interested in getting into some spooky, fun Halloween activities, or if you've just been dying to learn how to use a spirit board or an Ouija board, whatever it is that you want to call it, this is the video for you. So basically, what an Ouija board is, if you don't already know, is it's a board that you use for talking to spirits. In fact, some people call it a spirit board or a spirit talking board. So it doesn't always have to be an actual board. Some are made of wood. Mine is made of cardboard. I got mine off of Amazon last minute. Some make them out of paper or construction paper, and it comes with a planchette, or you have to make your own planchette. If you have to make it at home, you can use an upside down shot glass or like a upside down teacup in order to move it around. I highly recommend making one out of paper or using this one that you can get off of Amazon. I'll leave the link down below. But the planchette that comes with it is plastic, and it's not really good for, well, that's an understatement. It sucks at moving energy and working with energy across the board. So I'm not saying that you have to throw it away, but maybe replace it and like just not use this. If you have no choice but to use it, then by all means. But I personally, no offense, but I didn't like you. I didn't like working with this. It like doesn't work well with energy. Of course not. It's plastic. If I were you, I would go on eBay and I would try to find a wooden one or support someone off of Etsy, someone who creates them themselves or maybe finds them vintage. When it comes in, find a wooden one. When it comes in, make sure that you sage it, specifically sage it, in order to completely remove any energy off of the planchette before you use it on the Ouija board, because you have no idea who was using it before you got your hands on it, whether they were using it for good or bad, channeling angels or demons. Just, we don't have time for surprises, not in today's world, not in society. You don't have time, I don't have time. So why? Let's start with why you'd want to use an Ouija board and why you wouldn't. So why you would want to use it is if you were trying to connect with the spirit world. Let's say you're trying to ask for advice. Let's say you're trying to predict the future. Let's say you're just like, hey, what's it like on the other realm? Let's talk about it, spirits. That would be a really good time or a really good reason for using the Ouija board. However, I personally, I don't use the Ouija board to connect with spirits. It's something that was ingrained in me through my family, through generations of the women on my mother's side. And I actually grew up with fear with the Ouija board. I don't remember my mother or my grandmother ever telling me that it was a negative thing. However, I have a feeling that they might have. I want to actually have a conversation with my mom and get her thoughts on the Ouija board herself, but she and my grandmother both have seen spirits, and my grandmother's mother, and my mom's grandmom, yeah, they all saw spirits. I mean, just all the time. My mom, she'll walk into a room and she'll just be like, and just know. And over time, when I was growing up, I had a lot of fear when it came to spirits in general. And I would feel them and I would sense them. It would make me uncomfortable. But over time, I learned how to be open to it while also protecting myself and getting information completely and messages in the moment. So if you're new to my channel, or if you're new to me, I don't know if that's going to make you uncomfortable to hear it, but I just feel like, you know what, this is my YouTube channel. I really want to talk about it openly and honestly, and share my experiences and not really hold back. I've been in the closet about a lot of my gifts for a long time, and if it makes you uncomfortable, then I'm sorry, but I just hope that everyone here is open-minded. But anyways, back to what I was saying is that I typically don't use an Ouija board in order to connect with spirits. It's something that kind of comes to me. However, if I ever wanted to use them with a friend or by myself because, you know, I wasn't able to, it's just like another way of communicating with them. Like, let's say you have email, then you have a cell phone, then you have like face-to-face contact. Sometimes it's, you know, you're walking down the street and there's a spirit there. Let's say you're walking into a room and there's a spirit in the room. Then you're like, oh, hey, you know, what are you about? You know, what are you here for? Do you have any messages, etc., etc.? Normally they're pretty quiet. If you would like me to talk about spirits, my experiences with spirits, paranormal, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments below. But basically what it is that I'm trying to say is that there's multiple ways in order to connect with spirits. And if you would like to use this method, but then by all means do it, and I will tell you how to do it safely. But I really recommend, if you're trying to use a spirit board in order to connect with your angels and your guides, that you go and work on the relationship yourself, that you try and rely less on tools and more on your relationship and your abilities that are developed over time in order to connect with your angels and your guides. Really, that's what it is that I'm trying to say here. Okay? So that is why you would want to use it. Why you wouldn't want to use it, or why you shouldn't use it, or signs that you shouldn't use it, is if you are super terrified of it. If you're super scared of this, you're going to put out the energy and attract the energy of what it is that you are putting out there, if that makes any sense. So if you have fear, then you are going to naturally attract spirits that are more playful and more mischievous and more want to irritate you and to terrify you, because they're like, this is perfect for me to do right now because she is an easy target. If you are calm, cool, collected, centered, grounded, then you will have really interesting experiences when you're working with the Ouija board. Yeah, so that's, maybe doesn't really answer the question fully, but if you are, again, if you're anxious or nervous or not comfortable, don't do it. If you're working by yourself and you're anxious and you're nervous and you're uncomfortable, don't do it. If you're working with others and someone in your group is anxious, nervous, uncomfortable, tell them that maybe this isn't the right day for them to join in, you know, working with it. Yeah, there's something else that I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how to use an Ouija board. So like I said before, this is what a board looks like. This is a planchette. Again, if you want to see, if you want this one specifically, I can leave the link below for where I got mine. I got mine off of Amazon. Again, I don't recommend this plastic piece of crap. Sorry. But I do recommend, you know, getting a wooden one. Wood in general is so good at working with energy and moving with energy, and that's what this is all about. So basically what you do is you get a table and a surface in a sacred space in a sacred room. So for me, when I use mine, I'm either in my apothecary or in my room, or I'm at a friend's house, wherever. And this space doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could be your bedroom, it could be a friend's house, it could be a kitchen, it could be a backyard. And basically what you want to do is make sure that the environment is super relaxed. So for a lot of people, you want to dim the lights or maybe turn off lights and put on candles. Basically what this does is it creates a nice little energy around you. It helps people to get calm. It helps to change the energy and redirect the energy so it's less abrasive and less like in your face and more calm, cool, and collected. That's really, if you're going to work with energy, meditation, prayer, anything like that, you really want to light candles and keep the lights down low, because it just works to bring the energy down and calm it down and help you to focus. Next, what you want to do is you want to bless your space. Sorry, you guys, I don't really like to give myself rules and structure when I'm making these videos, so as I'm talking, I'm, you know, going down the to-do list in my head, so that means that there's going to be frequent pauses. Next, what you want to do is create a sacred space and bless your space. So you can use sage and then follow it up with Palo Santo. So sage works to completely cleanse any energies that are within the environment. Palo Santo works to cleanse that space too, but also help to bring in positive energy and bring in positive light and to bless the space. Then you want to say a prayer. You could say something quickly and easily, or you can call it a prayer or you can call it setting an intention, but basically what it is what you're saying is that you're setting the tone for the energy that you're in, or the energy that you are in with your friends or whoever it is that you're practicing with, that everybody be clear-minded, be focused, that you're setting the intention that anything that comes through, or any guide that it is that you're trying to work with, or spirit that you're trying to work with, that they be from the highest light of the universe, that they are only here for your highest and greatest good, that any messages that come through, that they be things that are there to help you and to build you up and are for your highest and greatest good, and not going to have anything that's going to hurt or harm. You're setting the intention that any information that comes in doesn't hurt anybody or harm anybody, and that any activity that you do during that day, that it be for good and not evil. So you're setting that intention immediately. Then afterwards, you're going to take a few deep breaths and focus and calm yourself and try and empty your mind. This is perfect for those who practice meditation or yoga. You become more accustomed to cleansing your mind out and going into that sacred space, that quiet space. Basically what that does is it helps the energy to kind of become more open and conducive to working with spirits and guides across the board while your hands are on the board. So basically while you're sitting there meditating, you're working to connect with the board, you're getting your energy on it. Anybody who's going to be working with the board should have their hands on it while they're doing this grounding and centering and focusing energy, because what you're doing is you're channeling your energy and connecting to the board just as you would tarot cards or automatic writing or whatever. Then, when everybody is ready and when everyone is, open and feeling cool and calm and grounded, I always like to have a brief moment where you're just focusing. Now you're turning your attention not on setting the intention or setting the prayer and blessing the space, but now you're taking 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes in order to focus on the task at hand, on what it's going to, not what it's going to be like or what it's going to look like while you're working with the Ouija board, but beginning to think about questions or thinking about, a spirit coming in and inviting those things in. That's mental focus and mental intention is everything. So you've created the space, you've blessed the space, and all of this is happening quietly. And then thirdly, now you're inviting in energetically opening the door, mentally, vibrationally, for your spirits and the guides or whatever it is that you're trying to connect with to then come in. That can take anywhere between 3 to 15 minutes to 20 minutes, depending. But really what it is you want, even as I'm talking to you guys now, I feel like there's something here too, which is pretty cool. But anyways, so so you want to then create the energy for the intention for something to kind of come in. For a spirit of positive love and light to come in. Or maybe even if there's someone specific that you would like to connect with, to begin thinking about them and visioning them, joining you and remembering them and thinking about them to help to connect with them further. When that is all said and done and when everyone feels ready, or when you feel ready, now would be a perfect time for you to then speak out to the universe and speak out into the spirit world. Hey everybody. Say however it is that you want to say it. I'm not someone who likes to do elaborate speeches on anything. Even when I pray, I like to stay very authentic. So I don't really say anything like a, mantra or anything like that. I just say, hey, it's Jess, or I'm here today, or spirit guides, angels, it's me, Jessica. I'm here and I've got my board and I'm ready to connect with you. I'm ready to communicate. I'm trying to connect with so-and-so. And meanwhile, your hands are on your planchette at the time, and with both fingers lightly pressing on it and in the middle of the board, and then you state your intent. State what it is that you're trying, who it is that you're trying to connect with, if it's a specific person or just a spirit or angel in general. And then you wait. And sometimes it can take a really long time, and sometimes you feel nothing at all, or sometimes nothing happens, but don't force it. So this is where practice kind of comes into play. Also, this is something else that happens a lot when people are doing automatic writing, or when I'm doing automatic writing. If you would like me to talk more about that, I can. But sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes no one wants to come through. Sometimes, you know, guides don't want to come through. Spirits don't want to come through. It's just quiet on that realm. And you have to respect that. Don't try and force anything to come in. If nothing happens, don't try and, try and get them to come in. If they don't want to come in, if they're not willing to talk, they're not willing to talk. You have to be really, really respectful of that, and they're being respectful of you, because you've already then set the intention, like, look, I only want things that are for my highest and greatest good. And if they're being quiet, then allow them to be quiet, because anything else that's going to come through is something that you forced and is not for your highest and greatest good. So if you do start to feel tingling, sometimes what I feel is in my wrists. I can't really describe it, but it feels like my wrists become really tired. Like I've been doing heavy extra exercises, and my wrist starts to get exhausted or worn out. But really what it is, it's I guess kind of loosening up. And that's when I know that, Spirit is going to work through my hands and work onto the board. It's the same way when I'm working on automatic writing. Other times my hand becomes ice cold, especially when I'm doing automatic writing. I mean, that's almost instantaneous. With the Ouija boards, it always kind of takes a little longer. That's just what works for me. But my hand will become ice cold. Other times my hand feels tingling, ridiculous. It feels like all of these, all of my nerves are just kind of spiking all over, little spiders are in my hands. And when I first did it, I was like, oh my god, something's happening, obviously. But then over time I was just like, okay, cool, here we go, and my hand just kind of becomes really an energy really takes over it, and it feels totally different than it would if I was moving it. When I move my hand and when I move my wrists, it feels like I'm moving it. But when it's something else, I definitely feel, a presence or an energy that's moving my hand for me, and it's I couldn't stop it even if I wanted to. And that's a pretty cool feeling, but it's also a little nerve-wracking. But that has been, when I get to that point, not nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking is not the right word. When it first was happening, I was a little nervous, but then over time I was just like, you know what? It doesn't feel bad, and I've already set the tone and the intention. I've never had anything negative come through for me. But again, I've always been someone who works with positive energy, who works with spirits in a positive way, who only works with love and light, and I'm pretty fearless. So I never had any type of negative experiences yet, knock on wood, and you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't if you're doing it right. So then when you start feeling that, or maybe you don't feel anything at all, everyone is different, you ask them to redirect and to move the planchette where it wants you to take it. Now this is me moving it. This isn't a spirit moving it, but I'm just having fun moving it. And really you can ask a question. I typically like to start off with something simple like, hey, what's my name? And it'll spell out my name. Or maybe it will say something else. Maybe it won't say my name. Maybe it'll call me stupid. I don't know, So it just depends. Every, spirit is totally different, and every guide is totally different. Some have really strong senses of humor. Some are very sarcastic. Some are forceful and mean. Some are pretty stoic. Everyone is different. Every spirit is different, just like everyone is different. If at any point during the process that you feel uncomfortable, or a spirit is making you uncomfortable, or it's too powerful, sometimes that's another thing, is that when you're working with the spirits, sometimes multiple come through at one point, and it is so overwhelming. Oh my gosh. And they know it, but they still do it. Anyways, so there's multiple that come through. It really becomes overwhelming because it's a lot of energy, and you're like, yo, and they have their feelings, and sometimes they're just so excited, or sometimes there's a message that they just have been dying to tell you, and they come through really, really energetically, and it's chill. So you can tell them. You have to remember, you are a powerful person. You have to own your power while you're working with these Ouija boards, and while you're working with the spirits, and be like, okay, one at a time, or slow down, or that doesn't make sense, or calm down, or let's focus, or come again, what are you saying? Or that's you have to be very clear and very assertive with them, I guess, and not disrespectful. Like, I don't want you to mistake what I'm saying as like being disrespectful or rude, but you have to be forward and honest with them and be like, okay, this is too much, or you're overwhelming me, or you're making me dizzy, or you're making me feel sick. Those are things too that can happen. I need you to calm down, or I need you, if you can't calm down, then you have to leave, like those type of things. So yeah, that's something else that you want to look out for, that you want to be aware of, or things that can happen. So when you're asking your questions, start off with something simple, and then you can get more elaborate with your questions. I do want to say, take the answers with a grain of salt. Write them down. So sometimes, sometimes the answers that they give, it's like they're not like, it's not everything. It's not like set in stone. It's just a spirit's answer to a question. And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong, but you asked for their opinion and they gave you your opinion, and they're not promising the future. They're just promising what could happen, or just letting you know what could happen, or whatever the case may be. So any answer that it is that you get, especially when you're first starting out, take it with a grain of salt, write it down, and try and remember it. Because don't take it so seriously. It's not like any force that's just like clear cut. Nothing is going to, like, this is law. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many like things that can influence an answer, and who knows? So take any answer that you get with a grain of salt and write it down. Don't take it too seriously, but just know, like, stay open with the process, and you'll get really, really good results. When you are done, after you're done asking all of your questions, because I feel like I pretty much covered everything, so we can now move into the ending process. So when you are done working with the Ouija board, thank them. Be like, okay, you guys, that was really cool. Thank you so much for talking to me and sitting with me and using the board, and speaking through the planchette and speaking through the board. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sitting with me. But it's time for me to go, and I wish you well, wish me well, send blessings and light. But once this session is over, it's over, and it's time for you to go. And I really appreciate it, but leave when we're done. And then they should say goodbye. If not, you command them to leave. Again, you're not being disrespectful when you say it. When you do everything, you want to be respectful, but you also want to be forceful and direct and say, all right, now it's time for you to go. Thanks a lot, but you have to leave now. I appreciate it, but get out. So that just kind of like closes the board down. You should feel any type of feelings that you have in your hand kind of begin to melt away. You start to close the board down. You start to come back to yourself a little bit more, start to feel like yourself, because and while you're working with the Ouija board, again, there is this like sense of peace and quiet that can come over you. No one should be getting possessed or anything like that. If you are getting possessions or anything like that, you're obviously done something completely wrong. That doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. So, I mean, come on, like, let's be real here. Unless you're like trying to get possessed, I feel like that's something too that happens a lot in like movies and mainstream media, and just YouTube in general. There's a lot of people, if you type in Ouija boards, you're going to see all these YouTube stars being like, just doing really stupid, silly things. Granted, they're hilarious, but I don't recommend it. And I think a lot of it is for clicks and likes and views and that type of stuff. But again, if you want to use the Ouija board seriously, then this is how you use it. When you are done, close the circle out. Be like, thank you guys, thank you angels so much for coming in and joining me. Everyone has to leave now. I'm going back to my day-to-day life. Thank you for the time that we spent together, but now it's back, we're headed back into, my human world. And I really appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye. So after that, go ahead and flick the lights on, blow out the candles, and laugh with your friends. Put your Ouija board away, sage your Ouija board, Palo Santo your Ouija board, wrap it in a fabric, silk or a black cover, and tuck it away in your sacred space for use for another day, okay? So that, my guys, is how you use an Ouija board. If you have any questions, If you would like to share your stories and your experiences, then please let me know in the comments. If you would like me to talk about spirits or my experiences with spirits or automatic writing, then I can do that for you. But in the meantime, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm doing my best to stay up on everything, but it is a lot. You guys know that during the day, I'm working on readings and working with my clients and setting intentions and making magic. So, and also my regular life. And at night I do a lot more magic. So it does end up being a lot to kind of keep up with, but really from the bottom of my heart, I have to say thank you so much, genuinely, for your comments, for your views, for sharing the videos like I know you guys have been doing, for sharing them on your Instagram, putting them in your Instagram stories, having a cup of tea at the same time that I'm having a cup of tea. I feel so connected to you guys when we're doing that. Like literally, no matter where you are in the world, you have a cup of tea, you have a cup of coffee, I have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and we're talking about this. We're talking about spirituality, we're talking about our gifts, we're talking about our interests, and we are more connected than we think, than most people, I feel. We have just such a different, unique community, and it's so dope. And I'm so excited and honored and grateful to be here on this platform talking to you in the way that I do. So I love you. I really do. We'll talk soon. Bye.